Thus it came about one bright May morning. I swallowed 4/10 of a gram of mescaline dissolved in half a glass of water and sat down to wait for the results. After a while, I became aware of a slow dance of golden lights. I was looking intently at a small vase of flowers. My eyes traveled from the rose to the carnation, and to the smooth scrolls of sentient amethyst, which was the iris. I was seeing what Adam had seen on the morning of his creation, the miracle, moment by moment, of naked existence. I looked down by chance, and went on passionately staring by choice at my own crossed legs. Those folds in the trousers, what a labyrinth of endlessly significant complexity. This is how one ought to see, how things really are. Now someone produced a phonograph and put a recording on the turntable. The voices were a kind of bridge back to the human world. The uneven phrases of the madrigals pursued their course, never sticking to the same key for 2 bars together. And suddenly, I had an inkling of what it must be like to be mad. I found myself on the brink of panic, disintegrating under pressure of a reality greater than a mind accustomed to the cozy world of symbols could possibly bear. None too soon, I began to return to that reassuring but profoundly unsatisfactory state known as being in one's right mind. The man who comes back through the door in the wall will never be quite the same as the man who went out.
The world he saw that May morning in 1953 profoundly impressed Huxley. A name was required for a substance that could provoke such revelatory experience.
Aldous suggested phanerothym, a phaneroin to reveal and thumos the soul. And he then wrote this little rhyme, to make this mundane world sublime, take 1/2 gram of phanerothym. And I thought this was a wonderful word, but rather too difficult for most people. It was a Huxley word, so I wrote back to him, having looked up in the dictionary the fact that the word psyche, of course, was available, and so was deluon to reveal, and about 6 others. But I fixed on psychedelic and wrote back to fall in hell or so angelic, you'll need a pinch of psychedelic.
In your book about mescaline recently, you talked of a valuable state of heightened perception being induced by drugs, by proper drugs. Do you think imaginative writers would benefit by that?
Well, I think the people who would benefit most of all are professors. And this, I think it would be extremely good for almost anybody with fixed ideas and with a great certainty about what's what, to take this thing and to realize that the world he has constructed is by no means the only world, that there are these extraordinary other types of universe which we may inhabit and which we should be very grateful for inhabiting, I think.
Not everyone shared Huxley's enthusiasm. The British writer Arthur Koestler responded in an essay with a parable. He likened consumers of psychedelic drugs with those who drive to the top of a mountain instead of climbing it step by step. The view, he concluded, may be identical, but the vision of the climber is different from that of the motorist. Such criticisms, however, only encouraged interest in Huxley's account of his mescaline experiments, and others began to follow in his footsteps.
Well, here I am in my home, and before I take the drug, Dr. Osmond's got 1 or 2 quite unrehearsed questions, I've no idea what they are, to put to me.
Right, Christopher.
Carry on.
Could you tell me the date today, please?
The date?
Yes.
It was Friday, the 2nd of December.
In
Right.
1955,
I want you to
Christopher
repeat
Mayhew,
this sentence after
MP
me.
and TV
Now listen
presenter,
carefully.
took mescaline
To be
under the
rich and
supervision of Humphrey
prosperous, a
Osmond.
nation must
The BBC
have a
filmed the
safe,
experiment.
secure
This is the first
supply
time
of
it's been
wood.
shown.
To be rich and prosperous, a nation must have a safe, secure supply of wood.
After initial psychological tests, the experiment began at noon.
Shall we go right ahead then?
Oh, I'll take it.
Yes, there she is.
Well, I'm feeling perfectly fit at the moment and as sane as I ever am, and I'll take the drug now.
An hour and a half later, there were definite effects.
Could you perhaps tell us any particular colour which you think...
Yes, there's colour just behind Tubby there.
Yes.
There's this colour of... damn, I warned you, Humphrey, that on colours my vocabulary is bad.
Are you talking about the reddish curtain behind Tubby?
Yes, and in fact it has the most extraordinary gradations of mauve and lights. Sorry, this is just my own poverty of vocabulary. I can't describe it.
Would it surprise you if I said it looked to me a rather dullish red curtain, which has very few...
Intellectually, I'd be amused,
Yes.
Humphrey, yes.
Now, who would you feel in this situation, whose judgment would you feel was sounder?
Now you're asking me, this is a $64 question, whether I'm seeing the curtain more nearly as it is, or whether I am intoxicated and seeing pink elephants, which is, of course, the thing that fascinates me about it. Well, all I can say is it's still a $64 question, Humphrey. I'm looking very hard now, beyond the camera.
Today, elevated to the House of Lords, Christopher Mayhew watches the film with Humphrey Osmond.
I quite like the bit about whether it's good evening or good morning.
But you also said the thing you weren't sure whether it was...
Now I'm back using again, and I see that the sentence I meant to say can't be said.
I think this is the most interesting thing I've ever done. And I say that after 30 years in which the whole ghastly business, has been depreciated, when drugs have been abused, when this is our major social problem. I mean, I do know all that, and I hope and pray it never helped anybody to experiment with drugs. Nevertheless, the actual experience seems to me to have been profoundly interesting and thought-provoking.
The time's now just on 1400, and in the last half hour or so, Christopher has been preoccupied to a very great extent with time, and we've had numerous discussions on this. In the interval, he tried to instruct me as to how to work his recording machine, and unfortunately we were quite unable to work it.